So I want to, first of all, thank everyone who did come out this morning. We're very, very excited about these workshop programs. We're going to be doing 4 of these. We did 2 already. I'm sorry, this is our second one. The first one, Dr. Awesome Shah led that, and it was a fantastic program. I know some of you must have come to that, and I'm hoping that all of you that are here today will come back to the next 2 so that you can completely grasp all these workshops. And the reason that we're doing this is that we want to take away what we learned from this, share it with our community, and then also make sure that we provide the people that we go to the resources that they need. And today you're going to learn quite a bit about a particular topic, and we're very fortunate here today to have Dr. Hamadan here with us. Thank you very much. And I want to thank Dr. Waji. And the center we're at today is the Oasis Center, and he's been very kind to provide this venue for us. I want to thank my team, the group that we have, and Mariam is not here right now, but I know she's on her way. Mariam Khan, Dr. Hina, Irfan, Mahtab, thank you so much, all of you guys. And lastly, and we can't do this without the support of the Rupani Foundation and Chairman Rupani, and I want to thank him for allowing us to be able to do this and provide a valuable service to the community. So without further ado, I want to invite Chairman Rupani up here so he can get us started.
I would really appreciate everyone's presence here. Thank you. We would not be able to do this without everyone's support. So I want to thank Dr. Waji, Munir and his team, and especially Mariam, we are missing here. She is the energy in every room. And I think I want to thank Ibn Sina's leadership under Dr. Hina Azam and Rupani Foundation team under Nilofer. So we are synergizing, including our Center of Oasis. So thank you, Dr. Waji, for allowing us. We all trying to bring in and address all the mental health gaps. So I'm trying to really bring in mental health, early childhood, pediatrician, and gynae on one platform to listen to them, understand, because they are on ground seeing the patients every day, and they have the most experience. So Rupani Foundation has made the effort to bring in all the 4 sectors on one platform to discuss and understand how to address those gaps. But thank you very much again for allowing me to come here and speak, and thank you again for all your support.
Are we ready? Yes. Are we ready for today?
Yes.
Great. Those of you who were here last time, welcome to the Oasis Center. And those of you who are new to the center, just a couple of words about the Oasis Center. We are a center for education. We're a third space where we can come, discuss ideas, learn from each other, and benefit the community at large. Like Mr. Rupani said, we need to come together. We need to come together to serve the community, and Oasis Center can be a catalyst in bringing many different groups together. Consider the Oasis Center as almost like a clearinghouse where we can bring in all kinds of expertise and become a center for dissemination of knowledge, which is a right of every human being. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker today. She is a distinguished scholar with a PhD in psychology and a master's in theological studies from the Harvard University, in addition to a Master of Science from Columbia University. She stands at the forefront of mental health leadership in our community here and nationally. And as a mental health director at An-Nisa, a licensed therapist and a founder of Brain Health, she brings a wealth of expertise to the human development field. Dr. Hamadan's commitment to advancing humanity's consciousness extends to her association with the Trauma Research Foundation, where her contributions significantly impact trauma-informed care. With a strong mental health foundation, she not only leads our team, but also plays a vital role in shaping the broader landscape of human development through her continuous work and affiliations. Without further ado, I'd like to request our speaker today, Dr. Hamadan, to please come up here and thrill us with her knowledge and her eloquence. Dr. Hamadan, please welcome her with a loud.
Hi, how are you guys? My goal is not for you to sleep. Hopefully teach you at least one thing. I've been tasked to talk about a lovely topic. Initially, it was just about stress. And I kind of pushed the envelope and said, I'd love to talk about stress, but in order to talk about stress, I need to talk about something else so you guys can understand what stress is. And that is about your emotions. Now, in the corporate world, specifically, in a lot of places, the notion of emotional intelligence, who's heard about emotional intelligence? Anyone taken any emotional intelligence leadership courses? Couple? Yes? I mean, there's a lot of literature, a lot of articles, a huge amount of effort focused on, emotional intelligence is even more important than, your intellect. It's not enough about being smart. You can be smart, but if you don't have emotional intelligence, how many people do you know that are smart but don't have emotional intelligence, and you see how it's hurt them? Yes? Yeah. They get angry, they get upset, they tend to lose their cool. So it's quite significant. But here's the thing, is that we know this. And, a lot of times we kind of realize, like, we have these two brains in a sense. There's the rational intellect, and then there's the emotional intellect. Who went to school and actually learned about their emotional intellect? We all went to school, right? Some type of school. We learned which feeds our rational intellect. But who's actually taught us about our emotional intellect? And what's even worse is that there's several studies that show that we think we're more emotionally intelligent than we really are. I could, like, the amount of statistics, I didn't want to bore you, but it's just, people continuously, 85% of people say they're emotional, they're actually self-aware. And in reality, what they find is actually only 15%. 15%. That's a huge disconnect. How can you say you are something and the findings are actually saying otherwise? And most of us are actually still in emotional preschool, okay? Sorry, I hate to demote everyone, but I feel a lot of people that I work with, look, as a mental health expert, I work with a lot of high-functioning executives, doctors, lawyers, business executives, serial entrepreneurs, and they're in emotional preschool because I guess one of the reasons they're coming, they don't realize it. And what they realize is that their emotions need to be educated just as much as their intellect. Today you're going to actually graduate, hopefully. You're going to get out of preschool, hope you get into. Okay, that's my goal for you. So, we're going to educate you about emotions, and then ultimately learn some tips for managing these difficult emotions such as stress. Okay? How does that sound? Good? Okay. So, just an overview, because these are, to guide me so I don't go off my tangents in storytelling. I'm going to try to cover these 4 points with some deviation in between probably, but I'll come back to the points of, like, what are the emotions? We're going to talk about something called emotional regulation, science of stress, and then, at the end of the day, this is all great, but you need to be able to have some tools to actually apply it. Now here's the thing, emotional intelligence, there's 4 parts to it. Self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills. I mean, these are week-long courses that they can actually teach. I'm only going to cover the top 2, and I'm just going to touch the surface on them, which is self-awareness and self-regulation. Now, who could tell me the difference between the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4? The first 2 have to do with yourself, and the other 2 have to do with others. Now, usually what you'll see is people will learn different pieces of these. But I will tell you, I will keep going back to myself, that the others, there's layers to this. It's not just a one and done. The self-awareness, the deeper that is and the stronger that is, it really is a domino effect. The easier it is to get into the others. If you are not self-aware, it's going to be very difficult to have empathy for others. So we're going to touch on self-awareness and something about self-regulation. Okay, how does that sound? Yeah? But in fairness to most of us, it's not our fault. And we can thank our cultures because, at the end of the day, we are a product of our environments and the societies that we're in. And, I have 2 boys, and I've caught my husband, who's also an educated human, who I think kind of knows better, tell my sons, don't cry. It's an automatic something, it's a learned behavior that we just start preaching. There's a consequence to that, but at the same time, we have to also start noticing these negative patterns and these unhealthy habits that we kind of perpetuate. That's how we break the cycle. By breaking the cycle, by recognizing the things that we were wrongly taught and actually doing the opposite. If we don't do that, we're just going to perpetuate the same problem. Most of us have heard different phrases, the don't cry, in the British culture, like keep a stiff upper lip. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve. That's another one. The nail that sticks out gets hammered down. This was actually from one of my clients who lived in Japan. I guess one of their Japanese friends had told them that. Be strong, don't get angry. Which others can you add to this? What have you heard culturally about emotions?
Don't cry.
Don't cry?
Don't be a girl.
Don't be a girl. How many of you in here were allowed to express your emotions growing up? 1, 2. And I'm going to constantly, remind you that if you can walk away with something today, start asking yourself, what am I feeling? If you don't know the answer, here's what the beautiful thing about the brain is when it does not know the answer to something, it silently holds on to that question and keeps searching for it. And the issue is, here's the other thing too, is that when you shut down those negative emotions that are considered bad, well, there's only one switch for emotions in our brain. When you shut off the bad, you also shut off the good. So the ability to feel good things truly in its capacity is not there. And this is where I'm saying it's all connected. The lived experience for the majority of the world is above the neck. Above the neck, which is what society kind of encourages and trains us and fosters, is not the full human experience. The full human experience is mind-body connection. But when you shut off emotions, you're actually shutting off that access to the body. And the best example to look at is children. Up until the age of 7, children are fully embodied. But through their conditioning and their programming and their environment, you start seeing slowly pieces of them shut down. But a child walks into this world, unless they've gone through severe trauma in their formative years, by and large, they are going to be a fully embodied human being. They're alive. Mind-body connection is fully there. I'm sure you've asked your clients these questions, and how does that make you feel? Or you even ask a friend, how are you feeling? I'm perpetually surprised at this response. I don't know. I'm fine. Bad. Or you'll hear sad. One-word answers. Nothing. I don't feel anything.
Very fine.
What was that? Normal? Nervous, yes. The language often used is very simple.
Vague.
Yes, vague, excellent. Very unclear. And oftentimes, what I've noticed is it's almost like a foreign question. What do you mean, how do I feel like? They can't bring to words what the actual feeling is. And that's another misconception that people have, is that if I can't explain it, then it's probably not true. We did we asked a bunch of students at Rice University about why don't they seek mental health services. One of the insights that we found that was repeated was, because I don't know what to say. And it's because they can't put language to those emotions, because you've never been taught. It's like telling them to go ride a bike, but they've never been taught how to ride a bike. So now you're asking them to come and express their feelings, but They don't know how to do that, so they don't go. So, there's a lot of data to kind of show us how we're in preschool when it comes to our emotions. And we really need to kind of educate and awaken people to start going into at least middle school and high school about their emotions so we can have healthier adults. Okay, so for people to talk about emotions, they need to be given permission for them to exist. The concept of validation is one of my favorite words because powerful, but yet two things you need. Sounds simple, but very challenging to implement. We are social creatures. Society makes us believe we're these strong individuals that can operate on our own. We are created as social creatures. We need that human interaction. Now, too much of it obviously will cause mental health problems. Too little of it causes mental health problems. It's about the middle, but by and large, we need that validation from the other. And for children growing up, who do they need that validation from? Their parents. And when they go to school, from their teachers and from their environment, that it's okay to feel. Because once you at least say it's okay to feel, you're going to open that door. But if you just close that door, guess what? There's a whole, this black room of emotions with cobwebs, etc., that are going to contaminate their life. So let's test your knowledge. You guys ready for a quiz? How you doing? How are you feeling?
So that quiz and going to be stressful.
What are emotions? Are they logical thoughts? Are they physical sensations? Are they complex psychological states? Or are they simple feelings? It's complex. And the reason being is because where I shared earlier that emotions can be created by your thoughts or they could be created by a trigger. Meaning nothing per se happens, you're not thinking anything, but you see something that reminds you of something of your past. Okay. Emotions primarily influence which of the following? Cognitive functions, decision-making and behavior, physical health, or all of the above? I love it. What is the primary function of emotions in human evolution? Is it to entertain, to guide survival and decision-making, to slow down reactions, or to create social distance? To guide survival and decision-making. For those of you who said B, you're correct. Is that, by and large, for the most part, our emotions are used as data. Now, data is different than actually directive of go do something, because you can be angry. It doesn't mean you have to react to it, because sometimes you can't. But at the same time, it's supposed to be used as a messenger to guide you. What 6 emotions are we all born with?
Easy more. We have more options. It's like high to low when you look at
I know. So this was intentionally meant to trick you. It is actually C.
Yes.
I'm surprised.
And the reason being, so these are the 6 core emotions. A lot of literature, they interchange the words happiness and joy, because some people are like, happiness is not an emotion. Now, here's the other part to this, is that emotions actually show up in the body. Now, oftentimes, even in therapy, we're taught to talk about emotions. As a trauma-trained therapist, I have learned to shift that conversation from how do you feel to actually what sensations do you feel in your body. Because oftentimes an emotion will show up in the sensation, meaning my heart is pounding, my shoulders are tense, my head hurts, my fingers are tingling, my legs feel numb. When someone gets angry, I will never forget this client. He said, my body was flooded. I felt literally as if it was a well that was just filling up with water, but it was like hot boiling water. And that's brilliant, because if you can actually name the sensation, the naming of it actually reduces it. And he said, literally the visual metaphor he used is that now, he's like, I still get angry, and I notice the well filling up, but I actually, when I notice it, I allow it to come back down. How many of you are actually mindful when you're feeling angry or anxious of what is really going on in your body? Yeah. What do you notice happening in your body?
Blocking the channels.
Blocking the channels. Now, what do? Do you allow it to exist, or do you try to get rid of it?
Sure.
What?
For sure, like trying to get rid of that.
Trying to get rid of
anger
it.
Or fear.
Yeah,
or
because it's a
sad-
bad thing. Who wants
Bad
it?
thing.
Who wants it? Now, here's my challenge to you. Welcome it. The more you try to get rid of it, the louder it gets, and actually the longer it stays. Okay. Emotions as messengers, and I like this chart because it just gives us, in terms of like disgust, avoid it, it's not good for you. Anger, take action or draw a boundary. Surprise, pay attention, this is exciting. Shame, find acceptance within yourself. Now, often with shame, we're always looking for acceptance and validation from outside of ourselves. Sadness and grief, support. Oftentimes, most depressed or sad people, what do they want to do? They want to stay alone. Guilt. You feel guilty about something. The amount of time they go, I feel guilty. Okay, and? That's it. It ends there. But guilt is an emotion that's meant to be used. What can you do about it? Fear. Protect yourself. You're afraid. Yeah. If you remember anything, remember, one, you got to notice what's happening in your body so you can notice the emotion. And two is emotions are meant for motion. When awareness is brought to an emotion, power is brought to your life. And really changing our mindsets around seeing emotions as bad as versus seeing you being able to name your emotions as literally its power. You are giving yourself the greatest gift. Which then gives us into a lovely topic called emotional regulation. Where he said unexpressed emotions will come out in ugly ways. Unexpressed emotions will come out in ugly ways. We don't express our emotions, we act them out. That's why you'll see people throwing, literally adults throwing temper tantrums. But often you don't even understand what they need or what they're feeling. And that's where it's the responsibility on us. And in this case, with this woman I'm talking to her, I'm like helping her understand what were you feeling and what was the need. She's like, I was feeling rejected, I was feeling abandoned. Okay, tell him that. But he should know. Same sort. But here's the irony. Half of it is to do with him so he can understand, but the other half is that when you actually acknowledge what you're feeling and what you need, that's 50% of the solution. It's actually, you are able to heal yourself because you're at least giving yourself permission to feel and to need. Now, this is the most scientific chart that I'll share with you. I'm going to use this in terms of colors. The green zone is where you want to be at. Green is you're alive, you're joyful, you're present, you are engaged, you're curious. Your mind and your body are connected, you're flowing. Now here's the thing. Oftentimes we don't know what's going to kick us up. Something's going to happen, or we see something, or something is done. Your emotions are often, in terms of your more unhealthy emotions that you don't understand, are triggered and will take you into this flight or fight zone. Now there's 3 states, which is it's reduced to the flight or flight. And the flight or flight state is different, which is the free state, because it's an entire emotional response that's different in terms of what's happening physiologically. Dr. Stephen Porges is strongly attributed to this because in his findings, and I see this in my clients and with all the trauma victims that we work with, it is a common zone that surpasses. Flight or fight is actually easier to work with than someone in the free zone. And for many people, the free zone is actually, they think it's actually the green zone for them. And this is the house of disassociation, where you're basically talking to someone, you're hearing everything they're saying, but you can't remember a word that they said afterwards. That's a form of disassociation. Depending on what's happened in life and how long you've been there, it feels very familiar for many people. It's also the house of where helplessness and hopelessness is. Now, some people will say at work, they don't experience that free state much, but yet in their personal relationships, they feel like they're there a lot more. What do you think? What's the difference? People talk about stress and burnout. a lot of times, we kind of strive where we're social engaged, a healthy amount of stress. Now here's the thing is, guys, we're not meant to stay in life. Ideally, yes, we want to be in this green zone. We are meant to go in and out of these zones. Now children will go in and out of these zones. Our body, though, is automatically meant to regulate, to kind of go into these zones and come back down into that green zone automatically. We are not consciously saying, hey, I'm in the green zone, let me go to fight or flight. It doesn't happen that way. Our body is automatically doing this for us. As a result, though, we're just letting it, and as an adult over time, you go and you just stay in these zones. You never consciously bring yourself back down. That's the difference. Something's happening automatically. The lack of awareness is actually inhibiting you from being able to regulate yourself. So the deactivation is learning different strategies. One, you cannot do it. You have to name it. So now I notice it. Like I will say, okay, I'm in the freeze zone. I'm shut down. And then I even ask myself, do I want to do anything about it? Because sometimes I don't. But at least I feel empowered because now I'm choosing. If I'm going to hang out and freeze, I'm choosing that. And then I'll be like, oh, this is boring. I want to come out of it. And I can do different things. I can just literally, the mere noticing it starts the deactivation. When you notice it and name it, it deactivates it. Now, it doesn't fully deactivate it, but you can at least then take steps. So then I will try to put language. Okay, what am I feeling? I'm feeling annoyed. I'm feeling disrespected. I'm feeling wronged. What can I do about it? That brings you back into the deactivation.
Yeah, but sometimes you consciously put yourself in the freeze zone.
Yes.
Because your job calls for it. Like let's say, and also if let's say something happens to you personally.
Yeah.
But you cannot afford to be emotional about things. But the important thing is for you to realize that you don't stay there forever. You have to come down and be human once in a while. And then when the situation calls that you go to that free state, you'll be able to go there.
Well, yeah, and the other thing too is that your job requires you to be in that free state.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to physiologically keep yourself. So let's just say, for example, you can't say anything to your boss about what you need, or the environment is not going to change. And you have to accept the status quo. But what you can do is co-regulate yourself, meaning, okay, I can't do anything about this, but I want to connect my heart and my body, and I'm just going to kind of breathe into my own body. Because what happens is you end up stiffening. The body tends to stiff up when it feels paralyzed and powerless. Okay. It's important, beating a dead horse here, because if you don't regulate yourself, you're going to become disconnected from yourself and you're going to burn out. And you're ultimately going to shut down. Shutdown is actually the more severe form of freeze, where you're just completely immobile. Now, this is the other chart, kind of what they call, Daniel Siegel formed something called the window of tolerance. I still don't like this word. Tolerance just sounds trite to me. It just doesn't do justice. To me, window of tolerance is the zone where you're alive, which is in the middle. So they've kind of taken the other chart and flipped it around. They put the fight or flight above and then the freeze on the bottom here. We want to be in this middle zone, which is emotionally regulated. That's where we're supposed to be. Things will happen throughout the day that will take you in and out of it. The more stress you have and the more trauma you have, this big wide box reduces. So your tolerance will become less and less. That's why you see sometimes stressed people will start snapping or become very short, impatient, rude, rigid, angry, because their window of tolerance is smaller and smaller. Unless you are intentionally doing things to expand your window of tolerance, you're going to go into this fight or flight or freeze zone faster. So meaning at work when you're stressed, if I'm not doing something through the workday to kind of regulate myself, I'm going to get a bit more short and irritated faster than I normally would. Start noticing that when you're losing your cool, it's because you need to feed your bucket in terms of something self-care. The ones that tend to have the more lasting effects is the internal body scanning stuff. The brain scans that I do, one of the things that's helpful to see is that we have different brain waves that are responsible for our mental health. One of the most important ones is something called alpha. You produce alpha brain waves through meditation. if you're not consciously doing things throughout the day to increase your alpha brainwaves, you're not going to be as patient. The concept of mindfulness is learning to be self-aware, and there's different techniques that you can do. Meditation is one of them. But the whole notion of what mindfulness is and what people kind of mistake even with meditation, it's not to quiet the mind, because we're like, you can't sit quiet. And I'm like, you're not supposed to. The notion of meditation and mindfulness is to observe the self. It's to notice. Everybody, let's just regulate ourselves a little bit. Stand up. Do 100 jumping jacks. I'm just kidding. Just to bring, wiggle your fingers. And I want you to exhale before you take an actual inhale. Go ahead. And if you choose, then take a deep inhalation. One of the things I've learned about breathing is the exhale actually should be longer than the inhalation. Anyone know why? Because we usually have a lot more junk inside that we gotta get rid of. The inhalation is like clear, it's like you're bringing in clean air, but you gotta get rid of the bad air. So there's a lot more. So you understand now why I wanted to talk about emotions before I dive into stress? Is it making sense that it's kind of hard to even understand what stress is? Because stress can be depression, stress can be a form of anxiety, stress can be a form of anger. It's not just stress, but we tend to just label it. There's usually something with it. It's just more socially acceptable to say I'm stressed. And we just leave it there. The 5 signs usually of stress is you tend to feel a sense of overwhelm or you're on the edge. I'm irritated, I'm tired, I can't handle this, I'm feeling disrespected, I'm taken for granted. There's some emotional correspondence with it. And then you'll notice a difficulty concentrating, kind of having that monkey mind. You're going from one thing to another. Or your mood changes, you go from being happy to just kind of worried or just nothing. And then you'll notice people withdrawing, socially withdrawing or emotionally withdrawing. And that's in that freeze state. And you might have some increased worry and tension. So it's not all of these, it could be some of these, but it's iterative, and it's not just like 1, 2, 3. It's like a cycle. But oftentimes it's silently brewing in the background and we're not even aware of it. When do you know that you're stressed? What's your sign? How do you know? Your neck ache? Shoulders? Headaches? How's your productivity? What? You can't concentrate. Here's the thing, is I want to differentiate between good stress and bad stress, because actually some stress is actually quite healthy for you, and in fact can actually mobilize you to a sense of peak performance, because it's kind of like just enough where it's kind of, making sure you're checking you're checking, crossing your T's and dotting your I's, and you're doing what you need to do. So it's like when the stress level is in the midpoint and the performance is high, you're actually at your peak performance, because you need something to kind of get that adrenaline running. Now what happens though, if the stress level keeps increasing and you don't have the capacity to keep performing, you eventually are going to kind of fall on the other end of the curve, where you're going to start getting fatigued and exhausted. Because it's like you're trying you're flooring the gas pedal and you just want to keep going. You're not honoring your body, and that's what with workaholics. Some people love what they do and they really just want to keep going, but they never stop. And then eventually their body forces them to stop. They literally will have a heart attack, a stroke, cardiac arrest, some type of physical illness that will actually wake them up and say, That's, this is one of the things that I've had people that have, someone with formed cancer, and they attribute it to them not ever being in tune with their body and just pushing themselves to go, until their body said enough. So, not all stress is bad. The difference is you have to start noticing what emotions are in your body so you can at least start reducing it so it doesn't take over. The 4 myths about stress, which is on here, like stress is bad. No, some of it is actually quite good. because then it, it can be formed in the form of anxiety and fear, where it gets you to kind of double check things. Only major life events cause stress. I mean, those add to stress, and those are major things, but actually, traffic can cause stress. Your kids can cause stress. You can control your stress levels is a myth. Oh, you can't control. A lot of times people are like, well, it's just, there's nothing I can do about it. Ignoring stress will make it go away, and that's probably the one that I see the most. People think, well, just tough it out, be strong, don't worry about it. It'll go away. Stress in the brain. My obsession with the brain, I try not to put too much brain stuff in here, but I have to show this because when you are stressed, the frontal cortex up here, which is your information planning, decision making, is supposed to be the mature part of the brain that knows the right and wrong things to do. When you are stressed, guess what happens? This lovely part of the brain shuts off. The emotional part of the brain, which is back here, and it's one of the first parts to develop, because our brain develops from back to front, is activated. And you don't have access to this wise guy up here. So that's why a lot of people, when they're stressed, do a lot of immature things. Okay, 5 minutes. Talked about, it's all connected. Your immune system's connected, your brain functioning's connected, your gut, your joints, muscles. There's no getting away from it. This is where we have to understand. Mental health is health. It's all one. You can't think that I can live a stressful life and I'm going to be physically healthy. It's going to catch up to you at some point. And a lot of times when you're younger, this is the younger generation, they're like, I'm fine. It's unfortunately, the words that your parents used to tell you, then you start realizing, oh my God, as you get older, things start creeping up, and it didn't just happen, it's been slowly building up. But that's why preventive is important. If you can start seeing what this stuff is doing to your body internally, you're going to take it a bit more serious and not just see like, it's just, they're just old. They don't know what they're talking about. Sometimes people ask me what's the difference between stress and anxiety. There is a lot of overlap between the two. The key difference, though, here is understanding is that with stress, it's usually a response to a recognized threat. With anxiety, sometimes there's not a direct threat. You just start feeling it. I mean, with stress, you should be able to name what it is. I'm working a lot. I have too much on my plate. I've got to do something. The threat is usually recognized. That's one of the key differentiators. The other term, too, is that stress should be short-term, meaning that the stressor should be able to end soon. It shouldn't be perpetuated. With anxiety, it tends to be a bit more long-term. That's it. Just meditate, laugh more, manage your social media time. Here's the thing, is that we think we are consciously in control of our lives. We are actually not. We are constantly being influenced. We don't realize how what we see impacts our emotions. And I want you to start noticing every time you're reading something on social media, ask yourself the question, how does this make me feel? If you're scrolling social media and it's not uplifting you, you need to revisit the account. I'm not telling you to get off of it, because that's not realistic either. But like, for example, I am very conscious of myself. When I watch the news and I constantly see a lot of negative stuff, it paralyzes me. So I'm very conscious about limiting my consumption of news, because I know what it does to physiologically. I'm an empath. I tend to take on energy quite quick. Exercise, another one, any form. Go for a walk, do some yoga, go to the gym. The body's meant to move. When a member of your team, and I'm going back to what I was just talking about before, acknowledge their feelings. I cannot, once again, now hear people mistaking this. Acknowledging their feelings does not mean you agree with it. You are just recognizing it. You feel overwhelmed, you feel upset, you feel disrespected. Acknowledging it. Reassure them that what they're feeling is valid, even if you don't agree with it. Yes, I know I need to do this, Razia. I know. So, let me scan, and I promise you then I'll let you guys eat. Just go ahead and just allow yourselves to spend 2 minutes to be with yourself and to notice with no judgment. In fact, just give it love, whatever you're noticing in your body, and just start from the crown of your head. Relax your eyes. Relax your jaw, the back of your neck, your shoulders, your throat. Make your way down to your left arm, into your right arm. And wiggle your fingers and just release any tension that you're holding in your body as you move your way around back to your back, down your spine, and your lower back. And relax your thighs into the seat of your chair, your calves, and feel your feet planted into the ground. And I just want to end this talk with ending with an intention of making a promise and a commitment to yourself, to give yourself permission to feel your emotions and to welcome them no matter how scary or ugly they are. Thank you, everyone.
That I'd like to invite Chairman Rupani back up. Without Chairman, we would not be able to do some of these amazing programs. We have so many folks in our own community with such expertise, and we're very, very fortunate to have Anissa. Dr. Hamadan, please join Chairman to just take a token of gratitude, and thank you.
The initial plan was to have now you go out to the community and present what you have learned. But the feedback that I've had, few people have whispered this in my ear, they were not quite ready yet to do that. Are we ready or are we not?
Ready.
We're ready? All right. Okay. So what we will do for the next workshop is a full session on what to present, how to present, and also learn from each other so that we have that energy that when we go out to the communities, we are articulate, eloquent presenters doing it with confidence. And that's our task for the third workshop. So we will not have a subject matter expert for the third workshop. We will have as many people as we can get here to come, and we will discuss, we will strategize. And that's the time we will really be ready to go out to the community.
So,
Now,
Dr. Waji, the only request to all of you here that when you do a presentation, please use your community language and don't know English, because it's very important. You may, use English, but I think the communication, I would say, would be far more greater, and people will be able to understand if you use your own mother tongue or local language that you speak, because that communication on your own language will be far more greater. Thank you.
Rupani have said that we want to identify the different languages, and then we want you to tell us which dates are available, that we can come, and we'll come with all the material and everything. You set the dates, we'll do like small little town halls, right? You can have 25 to 30 people, and there'll be one person who will be, but yes, please speak in that language. That's the whole idea of all of this stuff. There are a lot of people doing mental health awareness programs such as this. This is different and unique because what is being taught, we want it to be translated, interpreted in your language, and then you'll deliver it in that language.
one word, please. Only one word, not two words. Not a phrase, not a sentence, not a speech. One word. How did you find the session today? One word.
Awesome.
Awesome. Fantastic. Knowledgeable. Informative.
Great.
Great. One word.
Love.
Love. Good. Informative. Amazing. Perfect.
Relaxing.
Impressive. Any more takers? But thank you very much again for your energy, for your participation. Thank you, Mariam. Thank you, team. Where is Munir? Is he displayed? Oh, he left. Okay, we listen. Thank you, Mahtab, and everyone else, Dr. Hina, and the team, and also thank you, the board of directors of Oasis, Mariam Kokal, Nazri Hamani, and Mustafa Hussain, for being, supportive, and they're also, in their own way, very, very interested. They're all NHFA qualified, and they're able to also go back to the communities, to the Oasis Center, to continue with this great mission that we have. So, without further ado, I would say, have a great rest of the afternoon, and we will see you again on the date that we've asked you to. So, once again, be safe.